That's right, you have read the title. One Piece is fucking trash, alright? And I don't care what anybody says. I'm so mad right now, and I'm gonna talk about why. Every time I hear something about One Piece online, it's always fucking positive, and I'm sick and tired of it. Everyone is recommending One Piece. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do the opposite and expose the dark, filthy secrets of One Piece. If you haven't seen One Piece and you don't want spoilers, click away this instant because I'm gonna spoil absolutely everything. One Piece is a long ass show, if you couldn't tell. I started watching this show back in 2009 when I was a little baby. It has been quite the journey, and yeah, of course it has some amazing moments, and of course I have liked it. I have watched more than 1,000 episodes for crying out loud. But right now, in my eyes, One Piece is just one big wasted potential, and it makes me so mad because it could have been so good. You see, when you don't like a show, you don't care about it that much. You just go, oh, it's trash, and move on. But if you actually liked something about the show, or enjoyed it to some degree, if you saw the amazing potential of the show, and then it disappoints you, that's when actually you start becoming mad. Because you see the potential. It's the same dynamic that you have in a relationship. And I was committed to this relationship, okay? There are a lot of criticisms and nitpicks that you can do for One Piece, but I am going to focus on the thing that made me mad and made me create this video. One Piece has no character progression. Some of you are probably like, bitch, did you see the episode? Are you actually watching One Piece, my man? What about Robin? What about Usopp? Bitch? Yeah, it has no meaningful character progression. And I would know because I fucking grew up in real life while watching this show. I have went through many character progression arcs in real life, and these characters are still the same goofballs that they were when I was 13. I'm gonna give 2 examples to make my point. First, let's talk about Luffy, the monkey. Luffy is your typical shonen protagonist. He has a dream, a lot of willpower, and he goes in headfirst to whatever problem he sees. Your typical shonen shit. But the beauty of One Piece, way back in the day, was the fact that it broke the typical shonen cycle of the main character always winning. If I were to make a graph to showcase how good One Piece was throughout the episodes, it would look something like this. Here's where One Piece started to really differentiate itself from your other typical shonens. This was the arc where Luffy's character progression actually began. Being the monkey that he is, Luffy messed with someone he shouldn't have. And to be honest, that scene was epic. And it was totally what I would expect Luffy to do, so it was consistent and good. But because of this, they suffer a major defeat at the hands of the overwhelming force that is Marines. And for the first time, Luffy learns how big the world is. He watches as his comrades are getting picked off one by one in front of him. They end up getting saved by Kuma, but then this trend continues to really nail the point home. He learns that his brother was in prison, so again, being who he is, he goes in head first and sneaks into Impel Down. This arc is still my favorite to this day, by the way. Inside the prison, he gets his ass handed to him by the warden, and he also sees the fact that he can't beat Blackbeard at the end of the arc. After this, to save his brother from execution, he goes and joins the big Marineford battle. Throughout this whole section, you can actually see how powerless Luffy is against admirals. There's nothing he can do, no matter what he does. At the end of this arc, we have, in my opinion, one of the most iconic scenes in anime history. Matter of fact, there are multiple scenes like that. So Luffy gets absolutely destroyed 3 arcs in a row, and he loses his brother right in front of him. Logically, no matter how dumb he is, he should have learned to be careful before picking fights, because it ended up causing great harm to himself and, more importantly, to his loved ones. But we both know that this did not happen. After that season, Luffy is still the same Luffy, and he still goes in headfirst to every challenge he sees, being a typical shonen protagonist. He must be confident now because he has a new and improved plot armor. For example, this fight is completely bullshit, where you watch Luffy get beat up for 40 minutes straight, And then he lands like 3 punches and wins.
I trained for 1,000 years. There's no way you can defeat me.
Oh yeah? Watch this.
I trained 1,000 years. There's no 2 minutes cannot defeat me. I trained for 1,000 years. This is the bull.
This becomes extremely apparent in one arc, where Luffy challenges Kaido, aka the strongest being on Earth. So for a satisfying story, in a scenario like this, Luffy needs to suffer the consequences of his actions, just like he did before. But nothing like that happens. I was actually so fucking happy when Kaido blew up the mountain that these characters were on top of. It would have been the perfect punishment. When this happened, I was praying to the anime gods for their deaths, but they have plot armor 9000, so they survived. After that, Luffy gets mad and tries fighting Kaido, and even with his best attacks, he only sobers him up and ends up getting one shot. At this point, just fucking leave, bro. Like, gather your crew and fuck off. You lost. Why are you trying to raid this guy's castle? Especially when he also has Big Mama on his side, which you couldn't even scratch in the last arc. But by the power of friendship and justice, they do it anyway. Luffy in 1999, when the show just came out, is still the same Luffy in 2024. Now we have arrived to the juicy part. This part is the actual reason why I am making this video. Because fuck Luffy and fuck power balance, I don't care. You remember my graph? Well, after Marineford arc, everything goes to shit in my opinion. Yeah, it has some good moments here and there, but it becomes more and more bland. That is until the Big Mom arc. Big Mom arc was like a splash of cold refreshing water. It woke me up and I was hooked once again after years. It was a complete personal arc that explored the background story that we never knew about Sanji. It was the perfect arc to develop Sanji's character further. It was dark in a real emotional sense. Sanji was always a kid-like character. He is a pervert who likes any and all beautiful women. But no woman ever looks his way. He is overly attentive to the opposite sex, and even experiences major nosebleeds at the sight of them. Seriously, this was a plot point for 30 episodes at one point. These character tropes were fine when I was 13, because just like most of the kids that watched anime at the time, I was a shy, introverted kid who couldn't talk to girls, so Sanji was relatable in some sense. But motherfucker, 15 years have passed. How are you still the same? In the same time frame, I got engaged. How are you still getting nosebleeds? This is exactly the reason why I loved Big Mom arc. Sanji was finally becoming a man. He finally had something so important that he didn't give a fuck about anything else. This idea of an arranged marriage for this guy was perfect for his development. During the entire sequence of the marriage scene, I was so fucking excited. It is the perfect pure love story, putting just like Sanji is an outcast and everyone thinks of her as a freak. But Sanji accepted her without a second thought, and that finally made a woman fall for Sanji. Then he saves Pudding and they escape. Obviously getting away from Big Mama is very difficult, being an emperor and all. So for the first time ever, I prayed to the anime gods for them to have plot armor. For them to escape this place together. Even though the chances are stacked against them. But I prayed because that's where the story is leading to. Like, come on, Oda. You frequently use plot armors. Just this once, do it for a good cause. When this scene happened, I was ecstatic. Finally, he grew up. Finally, he is someone responsible. Finally, he isn't gonna take shit from these two women. But no!
Are you serious?
When I saw that Pudding used her powers to erase Sanji's memory, I wanted to punch my monitor. When I saw Sanji escaping alone and returning to being
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
I wanted to buy a ticket to Japan and kick Oda in the balls. In my opinion, this is the worst kind of story that you can write, because it just gives the viewers blue balls. You see, Oda is not a bad writer. If he were, One Piece wouldn't be this big. He created the perfect scenario that would develop and mature Sanji, but instead, he left him with a suit that allows him to spy on naked women. And this all happened in a singular scene. For context, That entire arc spans over 94 episodes. If you take each episode as 20 minutes, that is 31 hours. Also, if you were up to date with the show, you would have had to wait 94 fucking weeks to watch this thing unfold. And everything that happened in that time frame became absolutely obsolete in a matter of few minutes. I have a leading theory on why this happened. I think Oda is afraid to make changes to the show. This might be because of the fans, since they seem to enjoy the unchanging nature of the characters, and maybe this gives them comfort from their ever-changing lives. Maybe that's why he doesn't like to take a risk to make a fundamental and, in my opinion, much needed change to the characters. Either way, I am very well aware that I am no longer the target audience for this show. Before ending this video, I want to go to the deepest part of this problem and point something out about One Piece. One Piece was never supposed to be this huge serious show that spawned over 1,000 episodes with deep lore and stuff. You can clearly see that if you look at the first arcs. One Piece was just a show for entertainment mostly. It wasn't serious, and again, if you notice the first arcs, there was no real emphasis on the world and the system and the power balance. If my memory serves me well, Luffy didn't get a single power-up until Enies Lobby, which starts at episode 264. For One Piece, this can be a small number, but if you compare this number to the other shows in the same genre, it is an unheard of number. Up until this point, Luffy was randomly defeating his enemies. For example, he uses Arlong's own teeth to bite him. When he faced Enel, who was arguably one of the strongest characters that were ever introduced to the story, he beat him by flailing his arms around randomly and clearing his head of any thought. Should have used this against Katakuri. Also, Luffy didn't get affected by lightning because he was rubber. When faced against Crocodile, he used his own sweat and blood to hit his sand-like body. In my opinion, with Enies Lobby, One Piece's intentions and scope changed to be more similar with your traditional shonens, and the overall seriousness of those stories. This seriousness was further amplified with these 3 arcs. People's expectations, including mine, greatly shifted for One Piece, and this is the main reason why I am so mad at One Piece, because right now it is a mix between seriousness and goofiness. Oh, and I have one more question. Thanks for watching this video. I am sure there will be an all-out war in the comment section. So join in and let me know what you think about One Piece. Do you think what I said makes sense? Or maybe you don't care because you enjoy the show, which is pretty valid. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. See you on the next video. Take care.